Hi, happy Sunday. I am going to give you a little insight into what TIP means. You might see that in some of the Facebook groups. This is Panama. But first, let's look back to when I had a nice leisurely lunch with some friends at Fuego at La Compañía Hotel here in El Valle. So this will be the second restaurant of the three that I'm trying there on the property. And of course, when you visit El Valle, you have to come see the grounds. It didn't even occur to me with these sculptures that the trees are going to grow and they're literally going to be hugging the trees. We did actually put our phones down and talk to each other. And I did indulge in having butter because look at these rolls. You can't not have the butter when these are presented to you at the table. They both got the pork entree and I got the fish, which was a cobia, which I hadn't heard before, but it was a really good, meaty white fish. Well, I'm here at, I don't know how it's pronounced, if it's Care or Car Coffee, but I am having a mocha. It's really good. I'm going to go get my car washed. I have to wait an hour. So I thought I would tell you about some of the This is Panama experience that I had over the past 24 hours, but it kind of started also like a week ago. And this is at the Airbnb where I'm co-hosting. So thankfully, I don't have any guests in my Airbnb at the moment. And about a week ago, one of the guests said that the water pressure was low and that there wasn't any hot water. So the guy who's the maintenance guy on the property took a look at things and, thought that they got resolved. And at the same time, I had seen a post on Facebook that someone who I know who lives in that area said that they had a pipe get run over by a truck and that 𝐸, the water company, hadn't been out yet to fix it. So it's entirely possible that the water pressure could have been affected from that pipe getting run over and not fixed yet. So, that's in the back of my mind. And the hot water seemed like it got resolved, at least for that guest. And then yesterday I went to the property early. I like to get there an hour ahead of time and, set up and make sure everything's good. And the guy, handyman on the property, asked me to check the water to make sure the hot water was working, and it wasn't. And the pressure was basically just like dripping out. And the guest wanted to check in early, so he was like on his way. And we've got no hot water, very low pressure, and the handyman guy is like walking in and out of the rooms, which means, it's getting like dirty and there's water splashes all over the place because we're checking out the water. So we're like scrambling, to figure things out. And there happened to be construction going on at the property. And so the handyman got one of the construction guys to come take a look with him. And they kind of determined that there was a problem with the instant hot water heater. So um, the guy who installed it lives 2 hours away and said he wouldn't be available until today at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the guest was only staying for one night. And when I mentioned to him that, I mentioned to the guest, like, we have a situation that we're trying to resolve with the hot water, and I'm going to stay here until it gets resolved. And, um, I was in touch with the owner, but with the time difference where they were, um, they needed to get to sleep at some point. So a guy who's an electrician and a plumber came to look at it. And, okay, Anne, let me tell you, this is all with like using Google Translate, you know, my broken Spanish, a little bit of English, right? So that just adds another layer of confusion, and, it's just concentration that you have to have. So he said, definitely there's a problem with the water heater device, but additionally, there's an issue with the pipes or something that they're um, there's something wrong with like the pipe. So it's almost 6 o'clock. He calls the ferreteria to make sure that they actually have in stock the water heater that is the same. I drive him down there. I pay for it on my credit card because I trust the owners, they'll pay me back. I drive him back, and he and the handyman work for the next hour and a half to install it. But it turns out that while there's hot water, now there's no cold water. So we keep the heat at like level 3 so that it's not scalding, so the guests can use the hot shower. The other casita was fine. The hot water was working now with the new water heater, and that casita had cold water. And I had a guest arriving, later. Thankfully, that guest messaged to say that they were going to be a late arrival, so that I didn't have to tell them anything about this whole issue with the hot water. So I told the guest, you have hot water now, but you only have hot water. There's no cold water. I told him, it was set at that level that, wouldn't be too scalding hot. And then I gave the worker a ride home. We put his bike in my trunk because now it's like 7:15, 7:30. And the guy had come to look at that after his already full day of work. And so then the other guest, who was supposed to arrive at 8, and I went back to the property to wait, to check him in. And then he messaged that he was not going to be there till maybe 9. And so at that point, I put the keys in the lockbox because I was exhausted. I was hungry. I was thirsty and just needed to get home. Anyway, so now, it's in the owner's hands and their contractor to resolve the issue of, like, I think there's also like a pump issue and something with the hoses being transpired. Oh my gosh, they're sauteing garlic here. It smells amazing. Oh, that smells so good. Anyway, so that's like stuff that happens. Oh, and then I'm in bed. I'm like watching MasterChef because I'm addicted to that show now. And my power goes out. And literally 20 seconds later, the guest messages, like, we have no power. I'm like, wow, they're really getting the full Panamanian experience. And I messaged back, like, I'm so sorry, but it should come back momentarily, which it did. But I was thinking about how when I first moved here, when these things would happen, I would be the same way. Like, posting on the Facebook group if the power was out for 30 seconds. Like, what's going on? Is there a power outage? Was this scheduled? What's happening? When's it going to be back on? Where in town can I get internet? You know, and with water outages, because they're also common, same thing. I'd be like, trying to message people or post on Facebook to see, if anybody had any intel and what the situation was. And now I am like so laid back about it all. If the power goes out, I don't even bother turning on a flashlight or lighting a candle half the time. Like if it goes out at night, I just sit there in the dark. I have my LTE so I can, still use my phone if it's charged enough. And usually, if the power is going to come back, it comes back within like 30 minutes. If it's longer than 30 minutes, then I have to assume like, this could be anywhere from 3 to 8 or 9 hours. And that you just don't know. So maybe after like an hour or an hour and a half of the power being out, I'll message a neighbor or I'll post in, the 𝐏𝐻𝐸 Facebook page if anybody has any ideas about the power, when it might come back on. So that's definitely something that, you might find also if you're going to be living here, that at first you might be kind of like nervous and, feel stressed about these things, but then it kind of becomes the norm. And I'm glad that it kind of, doesn't stress me out, because it does happen. It does happen frequently enough, and it's always a double whammy when it happens with power and water. I remember when I first was living in Valle, and there was like a long power outage, and then there was, a water outage, and I was like really grumpy, and I posted, like in the Facebook group, is it not possible to have both utilities working and functioning on the same day, and actually just the other night when I was making that pork loin, I turned on my Instant Pot. I've got this really nice like Chinese 5-spice rub on the pork loin, and the power went out. And I'm like, well, I guess I could just put it on the stove and, cook it in a regular, pot. And then the power came back on in like, 5 minutes. So I was able to cook it on the Instant Pot, and it was delicious, by the way. So I'm definitely going to get another pork tenderloin and make another one with that Chinese 5-spice rub. All right, so that's my story of This is Panama. When you see that written down, TIP, that's what it's all about. Well, that was kind of a bummer. I went to the car wash and the guy said come back in an hour. So I went and had the coffee and came back, and then he had 2 new cars and said it would be another hour. I'm like, but I came back because you told me it would be an hour. Anyway, that same thing happened to me at the mechanic down in Coronado. I went there and he was finishing up with a car, said to come back. I came back when he said, and then he'd already moved on to another car. So anyway, maybe I'll just try and get the car wash down in Coronado. There's a guy that I like down there that does it. But we just had a nice rain, so I'm just gonna flip around and let you see how green everything is. So now that I've procrastinated enough, now I have to start cleaning. I don't know why I'm so unmotivated. I got some of the cleaning done, and now I have to do the rest of the cleaning, but it's like drizzling and it's cloudy, and all I want to do is sit on the couch and watch MasterChef. Anybody else watch all these cooking shows like I do? I wanted to give you some updates because I have a feeling some of these things are going to fall into the category of TIP. This is Panama. One of them already is in that category, and that is getting my certificate of occupancy on the casita. We filed about maybe 9 or 10 months ago for a zoning change so that they could allow the casita to have a permit, which means then a certificate of occupancy, which means then I can get the meter from Naturgy and get electricity hooked up. There is an option that I could get the electricity, you know, kind of on the down low illegally by paying someone to install a meter, but I'm just seeing the 𝐏𝐀𝐍𝐀𝐢𝐬s down in the garden, and I have not seen them in a long time. But then that doesn't solve the issue of wanting to have the property legal and registered. The other day I called about the health insurance, and someone is supposed to call me back. So we'll see. And what was the other thing? There was something else. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. See you next week.